I wanted to show you our frosting icing mat, and this is a real fun thing. You can make all kinds of really cool things with it. I'm going to be doing a lot of projects with it, but I want to show you how I use this and how versatile it is. So we're going to get started with the basics. For this project, we're going to be using caulk silicone, and this is Alex Fast Dry. You can paint it in 20 minutes, but that does not mean it is ready in 20 minutes. We'll talk about dry time a little bit later, but it is important to get this brand. I've been using this brand for several years. You do want the white. You don't want it clear. I do not have a problem with this turning yellow on me. It really holds its color, and it is nice and stable. I don't have any problems with it falling apart as well. I do purchase mine at Walmart. I can find it for about under $3, so check there. And if not, you could probably find it at any of your hardware stores or things like that. You can cut it off with your scissors depending on how fast you want it to come out. You may want it smaller, you may want it bigger. On mine, it also has a tip cutter that you can cut the tip off as well. This is just a caulking gun. You can find it in the section with the caulking as well, and we're just going to dispense it that way as we go. When I'm done with it, I just use a little plastic bag and a rubber band around it. You can just use saran wrap or something like that as well. And I have stored this for months at a time and have never had a problem with it drying out. So that is what we're going to be using. So let's get started on our project. To load our caulking gun, we're going to trim off the edge, and you can use kitchen scissors. And I don't make the hole too big because I don't want it to dry out. But you can, if you're doing a whole bunch, you're not worried about that, you can make it bigger. That's totally up to you. I've never had a problem with it drying out as long as I seal it correctly. So now we're just going to load that in. You can push the little trigger till you get that nice and tight in there. And you also can turn it manually if you're having problems with that, and we're ready to go. So to fill our mat, we're going to use our caulking, and one of the first things I do is I go get a wet rag, just damp, but something I can wipe the caulk onto and not worry about the paper falling apart or anything, and I can throw it away when I'm done. So I've used this several times. Yours can be brand new. That's okay. And we're just going to apply it directly onto the mat. And I'm going to do a section at a time. So this mat has 3 different pieces, and you can work a section at a time, I think is the easiest. We also have a 3-inch and a 4-inch spreader to help you. We are providing those at miriamjoy.com just so you can make that convenient. And what you're going to do is you're going to work this back and forth in these until we fill up all of these holes. And you don't want to see any open areas in the holes. And if it is, I do all 3 sections at a time. If that is easier for you to do, then do that. So we're going to continue applying this and working this until we get all of our cracks and everything filled in. Now this line can easily be taken smaller if you're not careful where the tip of your spreader fills. So we want that not to be caved in. We want to keep that nice and straight. So when I'm doing this, I just go ahead and do the whole mat because I can use them for other things as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get the mat done, fill it up the whole way, and then we'll talk about just cleaning it off some more. So I've got this pretty well covered, but I want you to see these little tiny holes that I've got right here. We want to make sure that those are all filled in so our design turns out really nice. And we can use some of this extra frosting and scrape it as we go and fill those in. Make sure that all your edges are really covered in good, and when you're scraping that you're not making any of those come back, and that's why having the bigger scraper really helps. And again, we talked about not scraping like right down the middle of those with the ends so that those don't sink in. So I'm just going to come back now, and we're going to remove as a lot of this extra on top, and this really goes a long ways. You'll be surprised how many of these you can make with our special frosting, just one tube. So it's gonna go a long ways, and we're just going to try and get this as clean as we can without creating any holes. And it's okay to leave some of that. I'm going to show you how we're going to clean it off. But the less we have, the easier it is going to be. So think about that as well. I do have a little area right there that I kind of got too thin. So I want to pick up some more frosting and just lay it back in that area as well. And we're going to let this dry. Now, dry time is going to kind of depend on the project you're working on, how thick it is, if you used a different type of frosting, which I don't recommend, or caulking as we call it, and the weather, the humidity, how dry it is, and things like that. So those are all things that we want to take into consideration. I like to let mine dry at least 12 hours. I prefer to let it dry a day so that it is nice and dry. But make sure that all those little holes are showing, that they're pretty well clear. And we're going to dry that and then come back and show you how to clean it up after it's dry. We're going to let this dry at least 12 hours, and it's going to depend on your humidity, how warm it is. I actually personally like to let mine dry for at least 24 hours, but you're going to know it's done because it's going to pop out easily. If it sticks at all, it is not done, but we don't want to take it out yet because all of these little guys are going to show in the window. If you can kind of see right there, those are still attached, so we have to clean this all up. And now this is a bigger one. Like on this little guy, I just rub it with my fingers and he's done. And this is our Christmas bell one. This is a really cute one that I'm going to do a lot with doing the holiday. It's just beautiful, and all the snowflakes are so delicate. So anyway, getting back to this guy, we've got to clean all of this stuff off, especially in all these little tiny lace places. It's really important to clean it off. Now I just wet my fingers with some water and I just start rubbing. And you're going to rub until you get every single one of those nice and clean. I have tried to come in with a kitchen sponge. So a little bit more aggressive. And maybe kind of just doing the bigger areas is helpful. And so I'm just going to stick with just this area right here for now. But once you start to get that kind of done, then still come in and complete it with your fingers. Now, because we're doing such a bigger one, it's going to actually wet it again. And I would honestly like to leave that in until it's completely dry again. It's not going to take that long. It's just going to kind of, you'll notice it's going to be dry to the touch and probably be done within an hour or less. But that way we're not re-wetting anything and kind of we don't have to worry about it changing shape or falling apart or anything like that. So you can see this takes a little bit of work. It's so worth it though. So, but you can see how I've got every single one of these completely cleaned off. And once that is dry, then just gently, because you don't want to break them, especially on the ends, start to pull that off, and then you get this wonderful, wonderful lace. Well, I hope you're inspired by this project. There's so much we can do with it, and I will have a lot of videos coming out using this method. So make sure you're one of the first ones to see our videos by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up and share these so we can continue to grow. But I also wanted to show you how versatile this is and some of the little simple things that you could do. You could put it on glass. I would use E6000, but there's so many ways that you could use this project, and just think outside of the box and all the fun things that you could do with it. Order your frosting lace mat at miriamjoy.com. If you want to get a spreader there, we've got those for you as well. And as always, if you ever have a question about a product or a project we're working on, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com. Thank you. God bless.